Hi, welcome to True Crime Talk. In this video, I'm going to be going over some newspaper articles I found about the Helen Ann Morgan case from Georgia. She went missing in 1984, and I have a part one video up about her already. But I found some more newspaper articles that might shed some more light and give us more information about her case. So the first article I'm going to go over is one from the Macon Telegraph in 1984, from May of 1984. And it just says, foul play suspected in disappearance of Barnesville woman. Foul play is suspected in the disappearance of a 26-year-old woman missing since Sunday night when she left her home near Barnesville. Helen Ann Morgan left home about 8 p.m. Sunday after receiving 2 telephone calls, then telling her mother she was going to check on a computer problem at National Cash Register in Peachtree City, where she works as a computer specialist. She has not been heard from since then, said Lamar County Sheriff Frank Monahan. Morgan never reached work. Monday night she was reported missing. Her car was found Wednesday afternoon at Hartsfield Atlanta International Airport, Monahan said. Despite the location of her car, authorities do not suspect that she simply decided to take a trip. She's not that kind, said Monahan. She wouldn't have done that without letting her mother know. Monahan said Morgan, divorced since early this year, has a 5.5-year-old daughter. She is a supervisor at National Cash Register and is known to be a dependable, hardworking employee. We suspect foul play, said Monahan. I think that's the only way you can look at it. We suspect foul play and hope that we are wrong. Monahan said Morgan received a call about 7 p.m. Sunday, discussed a computer problem, gave some instructions, and told the caller to phone back if the problem remained unsolved. Someone called back for her about 8 p.m. and she left home. So that's one article. And then another one from the Macon Telegraph on June 16th of 1984. This one says Barnesville woman's disappearance still a mystery. Lamar County Sheriff Frank Monahan hopes a reward fund will help investigators learn what happened to a 26-year-old Barnesville woman who disappeared from her home May 13th. Helen Ann Morgan has been missing since she left home about 8 p.m. that Sunday night. She told her mother she was going to check on a computer problem at National Cash Register in Peachtree City, where she worked as a computer specialist and supervisor. Morgan, divorced early this year, left her 5.5-year-old daughter in the care of her mother. She did not go to NCR. Okay, so that's the first. So now we know she did not go to NCR, which obviously I know she didn't make it there, but I still don't know if the police know if she actually, I assume they do, knew if she was actually going there to meet a coworker, or was that just something she told her mother? Her car was found in a Hartsfield Atlanta International Airport parking lot May 16th. We don't know what happened, said Monahan. We hope someone will hear about the reward and give us the information we need. Morgan, a white female, is 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighs 120 pounds. She has gray eyes and blonde hair. Monahan said investigators had dismissed the possibility that Morgan simply decided to take a trip or abandon her family. She's not that kind, he said. We suspect foul play. The sheriff gave this account of the disappearance. About 7 p.m. May 13th, Mother's Day, Morgan received a telephone call. Her mother heard her discuss computers with the caller. Morgan gave some instructions and told the caller to phone back if the problem remained unsolved. Someone called back about 8 p.m. and Morgan left, telling her mother she was going to NCR. Shortly after 8 p.m., Morgan stopped at a grocery store in Griffin and cashed a check for a small amount of money. Okay, so now I know after 8 p.m. she stopped at a grocery store in Griffin. So now I know the grocery store was in Griffin because I wasn't sure where the grocery store was at that she stopped at. And she cashed a check for a small amount of money. So if she had cash on her, it could very well have been a robbery turned kidnapping and murder, possibly. She did not go to NCR. Investigators learned there was no computer problem at NCR that night. The only employees at NCR that night were security guards. Okay, so unless a security guard set her up and said they had a computer problem, which I don't know why a security guard would be calling her. She's a supervisor there. I don't know if security guards were using computers for some reason. Oh, so this is a very strange case. Because at first glance, and I still think that, her ex-husband had something to do with this, but then some details kind of throw it off, like how did he set her up? And who called her about a computer problem? She would recognize her coworkers' voices, so unless she was just giving somebody computer help, not necessarily from work, and her mother assumed it was about work, I don't know. On Monday, May 14th, Morgan's family reported her missing. On Wednesday, May 16th, her 1980 Chevrolet Citation was found in a Delta Airlines parking lot at the Atlanta airport. Investigators found a car key and Morgan's wallet in the car. The wallet contained only a department store check cashing card and a couple of miscellaneous papers. The key was under a floor mat on the driver's side. Contributions to the reward fund can be sent to the First National Bank in Barnesville. And so they did do a reward. I think it was like $5,000, and then people could donate to make it more. This next article is from the Macon Telegraph from June 23rd, 1984. It just has a small thing about the reward being offered in her case. It says reward offered in disappearance. Governor Joe Frank Harris on Friday offered a $1,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the disappearance of Helen Ann Morgan of Barnesville. Morgan, 26, who law enforcement authorities believe was abducted, has been missing since May 13th. She left home about 8 p.m. that Sunday to drive to work at National Cash Register in Peachtree City, where she worked as a computer specialist and supervisor, after receiving 2 calls about computer problems. She never arrived there. Investigators later found that only security guards were at National Cash Register that Sunday night. Morgan's car was found abandoned at Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta on May 16th. The reward was requested by Lamar County Sheriff Frank Monahan. Contributions to the reward fund established for the investigation of Morgan's disappearance can be sent to First National Bank in Barnesville. Anyone having information about the disappearance is asked to call the Sheriff's Department at 404-358-0858. I believe that's 8. But anyhow, so they did offer what today seems like a very small reward, but it grew. The reward grew because people made donations to it. I don't know how much the reward got to, but obviously it never helped them solve this case. Let's see, this article is from December 29th, 1984, from the Atlanta Journal. And it says, Georgetown is living in fear. Barnesville upset about crimes of 1984. So there were several horrific crimes in Barnesville in 1984, and it was unusual because Barnesville was, and I guess still is, considered a smaller town. So let's see, it says, this was the year Barnesville lost the innocence of a small town. It was a year when the number of pistol licenses doubled and women were scared to go out alone at night. It was a year when the belief that it could never happen here was forever shattered. 2 unsolved murders, allegations of child abuse at a local daycare center, and the disappearance of a 26-year-old mother last May made 1984 one of the most tragic years in recent memory for this central Georgia town of 5,000. I think 1984 was probably one of the worst years as far as serious crimes in the history of the county, said 38-year-old Chuck Keatle, who takes office Tuesday as the new sheriff of Lamar County. It has really upset the whole county. Most of the murders we've had before were domestic type murders, and we haven't had many of those. Keatle was elected by a margin of 10 votes over incumbent Frank Monahan, and some here say frustration over the unusually high level of serious crimes in 1984 may have been a factor in the election. Keatle, however, promises no miracles and credits Monahan with doing everything possible to solve the cases. The sheriff-elect predicts there will be equal pressure on him after January 1st to solve the crimes. Lamar County residents said District Attorney E. Byron Smith are simply not accustomed to serious crime. There is a lot of resentment out there, said Smith. This county has had a history of peacefulness, and to have something like this happen really leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Barnesville Mayor Jimmy Matthews recalls that local gun dealers did a booming business after the May disappearance of 26-year-old Helen Ann Morgan, the July murder and rape of 28-year-old Donna Ogletree Johnson, and the discovery that same month of the body of a still unidentified man in his 30s who had been shot 5 times. Mrs. Morgan left home last Mother's Day heading to work in Peachtree City. She cashed a check at a Griffin grocery store and was never heard from again. Her car was located at Hartsfield International Airport. And then it goes on to talk about the Johnson case, which I'll do a video about that case one day. That is another horrific unsolved crime from Barnesville. However, they obviously they know she was murdered because they found her body, but they never found Helen Ann Morgan. So basically, the new information I learned was that she definitely never showed up at the Peachtree City location of her job, and that her daughter was about 5.5 years old at the time she went missing. And she was living with her mother, and apparently it's just her mother and her daughter. Apparently her father didn't live there with them. And also, I learned from reading more articles that it, just from my own opinion, from speculation, it may be possible that her mother misinterpreted her phone calls or misoverheard her phone calls, and or that Helen Ann Morgan did not tell her mother the truth about where she was going or what she was going to be doing or who had called her. Like she told her mother, I'm going out to take care of a work problem, and that could have been her way to get out of the house and go meet somebody who she knew her mother wouldn't approve of or wouldn't like, because she had been going to meet her ex-husband, because she had been going to meet another man, and she knew her mother wouldn't maybe approve of that, so she just lied and said, oh, I'm going to work to take care of a work problem, because she was a supervisor, so her mother could have completely believed her, even though apparently the only people there at her job site were the security guards at the time. Apparently it was closed, because remember, it's Mother's Day Sunday at night, so a lot of businesses are closed on the weekends. So, and another thing I had in my mind, because I'm very suspicious of the ex-husband. Could he have set her up? Could he have had somebody call her or get to know her and then call her to come meet them? And it was just a ruse for them to get her isolated, to get her alone somewhere where they could do something to her. And obviously, I assume that she needed cash on her, so that's why she went to the store to get cash. Because, back then in 1984, not everybody had debit cards and credit cards and all that, and smartphones to tap and pay with. They would use cash a lot more back then. So she needed cash. Did she need cash just because she needed cash in general, or did she specifically get cash because somebody asked her to, to bring her some cash? So that's another question I have. It seems to me if she possibly did not go missing from the grocery store, obviously, because her car was found at the airport. So it could very well be on her drive. So apparently she wasn't going to work at all. That's what I wanted to know. Was she really going to work or was she not? And it appears to me at this time that she really wasn't going to work, that she possibly told her mother a story, but she really wasn't going to work unless somehow somebody set her up, making her think that there was a problem at work and she really was going to work, not knowing that there was nobody there but the security guards. So it could very well be she was set up by either her ex-husband, a coworker, somebody on behalf of her ex-husband, or somebody else, some other person who maybe had a crush on her and wanted to date her, and she was going to go see them. It could have been, I don't even know if the caller was male or female. I don't know if she was going in her mind to meet a male person or a female person. And then she was set up by possibly her ex-husband and his soon to be wife, new wife. Because remember, to my understanding, her ex husband had an affair with their nanny or babysitter, and that's what caused the breakup of their marriage, to the best of my understanding. I may not have that 100% factually correct, but to my understanding, the reason for the divorce was her husband was having an affair with a babysitter, and the husband and the babysitter ended up getting married later on. Could they have worked as a team to set her up to get rid of her? Did the husband not want to pay alimony or child support, whatever? Did they just want her out of the way? I don't know if the husband ended up raising the daughter. I assume he did because he would be the last surviving parent. And unless they could prove some kind of abuse or that he did murder his ex wife, there would be no reason for the courts not to give him full custody of his own daughter. And did her mother suspect that the ex husband killed her daughter, but she still got along with him over the years so that she could see her granddaughter? I don't know. I don't know what the family dynamics were after she went missing. But it's just very, it's a very much a mystery as to how and what happened to her. Exactly, did her mother misunderstand the phone call she received, or was her mother not actually hear what she thought she heard, and she just got the information from her daughter, or her daughter told her that it was a work problem, but her daughter was fibbing to her to make her think she was talking to somebody else? Could it have been the ex-husband calling at the time, trying to get back with her? Not in reality, but he was planning on doing something to her, so he pretended like he wanted to get back with her, or he needed to talk with her about something, and he told her, "Don't tell your mom the truth. She hates me because we're divorced and I cheated on you. So just come meet me here, but don't tell anybody," or something like that. I think possibly she lied to her mother about where she was really going, and possibly somebody lied to her to get her to meet them somewhere. So if she really didn't go to work and she knew she wasn't really going to work, where did she travel that night after she went to the grocery store? So that's a mystery. We have no idea where she went after she went to the grocery store in Griffin. Her car was not found at the Griffin grocery store, so apparently she didn't go missing from there unless she was abducted from the parking lot. Like I said, more than one person involved, and somebody else drove her car to the airport, and then somebody had her live body or dead body in the car and disposed of her body somewhere else. It's It is truly a mystery, and it has not been solved after all these years because apparently the police in Lamar County, the sheriffs, couldn't put together all the puzzle pieces. And it may very well be it's so complicated because her mother doesn't actually know what was said over the phone, and the daughter lied to her, so she doesn't actually have factual information to give. And somebody could have lied to Ann Morgan, and so she didn't actually have the facts of where she was going, what she would be doing that night. So there's just a lot of misinformation that I can't even speculate on how it went down. Like I said, I think the ex-husband is definitely involved, but I can't figure out from the information I've researched so far and what I've read, I can't actually figure out all the puzzle pieces and how it would have gone down. How did they get her to leave her home that night? And did she go to the check cashing store because she needed money, or she was taking money to somebody else? She just going out for a night on the town with a girlfriend, or she thought maybe it was a female got her out of the house. Let's go out and have some fun and get together, but your mom won't like it, so don't tell her where you're actually going. Tell her you're going to work or something. And maybe the female who she thought was her friend was actually setting her up for her ex-husband and the nanny, possibly some scenario like that. There's got to be somebody out there who's still living today who knows exactly what happened to her. I don't know if her ex-husband is still alive. I assume he is, but I'm not sure. But there's got to be somebody who's still living, whether her ex-husband, her ex-husband's wife that he married after she went missing, who was the nanny who babysat her daughter, or whoever called her that night to get her away from her house, who she was going to see. If the ex-husband wasn't involved and it had nothing to do with her marriage and the affair that he had and all that, then somebody else who she knew or who she thought she knew, I don't know whether a longtime person she knew or just somebody she met recently, got her to get out of her house that night and to lie to her mother about where she was going. But I can't think, because I have very limited information, of who else could have wanted to do harm to her besides her ex-husband, unless it's just some creepy stalker. But this case has never been solved, so I wish the police would release police reports and everything, because at this stage I highly doubt that it will be solved unless they have DNA somewhere that they can test. They haven't found her body, and apparently they don't have DNA from the car that was left behind, as far as I know. So this case, because they don't even have a location of a crime, where a crime was committed, to test for DNA other than her car, and I don't know if they kept that, because in 1984 they didn't know about DNA. So I wish the police would just release everything on some of these cold cases that are so old, and maybe somebody in the public would get a piece of information that would help them solve this case. But anyway, so that's some more information on the Helen Ann Morgan case. And if I find out any more information about this case, I'll post a video about it. But so far, that's all I could find, is basically the same story about how she went missing. But I have no idea what the police actually think, what's in their reports. I do know that the police felt that her ex-husband was definitely a suspect back then. I did find that information. So her ex-husband was definitely named as a suspect back then. But I guess they never could find the evidence to charge and arrest him. And maybe they couldn't find the evidence because maybe it wasn't him, maybe somebody else was involved. So anyway, that's some more information on the Helen Ann Morgan case.